When their world was plunged into darkness, they refused to give up. Experience the incredible true story of survival and mercy in World War II as men and women fought to preserve their way of life against the impossible. Charlie Brown was a young American pilot, part of the 379th Bombardment Group, who had never flown a B-17 bomber before. His mission was to take part in a bombing raid on the Focke-Wulf aircraft factory in Bremen, Germany. Together with his 10-man crew, he took off in his B-17, nicknamed Ye Old Pub, and joined the 8-mile-long bomber stream making its way to northern Germany. They had 12 500-pound bombs ready to be dropped on their target. As they crossed the German border, they were on the lookout for enemy fighters because if they could see Germany, then Germany could see them and may calculate their height, speed, and intended destination. Covering them were their escorts, P-47 Thunderbolts, which, if needed, could intercept the enemy. At 11:30 a.m., puffs of black smoke appeared on the horizon. German 88mm flat cannons were opening fire, sending 20-pound shells into the air. Each had a differently timed fuse, so they exploded at different altitudes. The explosions shook Ye Old Pub, and Charlie could barely see through the smoke. Suddenly, a red flash exploded right before his eyes. The plexiglass nose of the plane was sheared off and smashed against the windshield. The men up front were unhurt, but ice-cold winds streamed through the plane. The outside air temperature was negative 60 degrees Celsius. The shelling continued. Another red flash. Bang! And engine number 2 was dead. Another shell went straight through the left wing before exploding further above, and on the right, engine number 4 was damaged and spun wildly out of control. Charlie fought the controls to keep the wing from ripping off, but yet another shell ripped through the roof. His main focus was to keep the plane straight as the command to drop the bombs came through the radio. Ye Old Pub gave a big kick as the heavy cargo fell on the smoking city below. It was time to head home. The bomber formation made its way back toward the North Sea, but the danger hadn't passed. They were now over enemy territory. Charlie's crew frantically scanned the sky for enemy fighters, but the sky was empty. No fellow bombers had made the run unscathed, and Ye Old Pub and the burning bomber beside them were seriously damaged. The pub itself stayed up but was reduced to only 2 functional engines, and both planes had fallen way behind as their formation had flown on ahead. The other plane dove to try and put out its fire. It disappeared behind some clouds, and suddenly, a red flash caught Charlie's eyes. The other plane was gone. Now they only had one choice left. They would have to break through the German lines again. The dreaded Atlantic Wall, Germany's fortified coastline with the best anti-aircraft gunners in the world. At this point, Charlie gathers up all the strength he has left, looks to his crew, and states clearly that anyone can choose to bail out. It is better to be a prisoner of war than to be shot to pieces. But the brave soldiers solidly refused. And so they continued north, praying and hoping not to be spotted by any enemy jets or cannons, but they soon realized that their prayers had fallen on deaf ears. Suddenly, dark gray shapes appeared on the horizon. It was a squadron of Focke-Wulf 190s closing in fast. At the same time, a group of Messerschmitt 109s leapt through the clouds below where the other B-17 had just disappeared. Charlie's men readied the machine guns as the 2 lead 190s aimed for the pub's cockpit to take out the pilot and the controls in one attack. Charlie turns sharply and flies full speed toward the attackers, only presenting them with the narrowest target while shortening the distance between them. The enemy jets were caught off guard, and so their aim was poor. It missed the cockpit and bounced off the plane's roof. Immediately, Charlie's top gunner returns fire and hits a 190. It banks off from the squadron while on fire. The second 190 is hit by the nose gunner while trying to avoid a collision. Now the 109s are closing in from behind. The tail gunner tried to spin his guns, but they didn't move. The worst had happened. The winds blowing through the plane had now frozen the oiled gun. The 109s are still closing in. The tail gunner signals Charlie, and he jerks the plane into a steep bank. Bullets ricochet off the frame, penetrating the glass of the ball turret beneath the plane and cutting off half the rudder. At this point, the radio operator began calling for help, but all he could hear was static. Apparently, bullets had pierced the radio. Many crew members were severely wounded by the bullets that pierced through the plane, and the tail guns were affected by the frost. But Charlie kept fighting, even if only to keep the ruins of his plane afloat. Only one gun was in operation, and Charlie knew another attack would spell the end of his unfortunate adventure. The pub couldn't stay at a high altitude any longer and began plummeting towards the city of Oldenburg. Now at a lower altitude, Charlie had more oxygen so he could regain control of the wheel at about 3,000 feet and pull it out of its disastrous dive right above the roofs of Oldenburg. At this point, most of the crew is wounded or unconscious. Not far off from the injured Ye Olde pub is the Jever airfield, where German fighter ace Franz Stigler was about to start his engine. Stigler had recently brought down 2 B-17s, and shooting down another would make him eligible for the Knight's Cross. To Franz, though, the medal meant more than just an award for being a serial bomber. It meant that he had done his duty for his countrymen. When Stigler took to the skies again, it was then that Charlie and Franz Stigler fates would first meet. The German pilot had gotten behind the pitiful B-17 and had the perfect chance to shoot down the damaged plane and its crew. Stigler watches the plane in front of him that is at his mercy, and the American pilot prepares for his impending doom. But soon they realized something was wrong. They were not being attacked. Stigler had chosen to spare their lives. He did something completely unexpected and flew alongside the B-17 and escorted it to the North Sea, where the bomber would be out of range of German guns. Charlie and his crew were stunned by the unexpected act of mercy shown by the German pilot. They returned to England and told their story, but they never forgot the German pilot who had spared their lives. This was when Charlie Brown's extensive search and investigation began. He began searching for information about the German pilot who spared his life. He remembered the pilot's name because it was called out on the radio by Stigler himself. As Charlie was trying to evade the German fighters, Stigler had identified himself as the pilot, and Charlie heard his name over the radio. Even though the incident was intense and chaotic, Charlie couldn't forget the name of the pilot who had shown mercy towards him and his crew. He used this information to track Stigler down after the war by reaching out to different veteran groups and historical societies and even contacting the German government. He also used whatever information he had from the incident, like the name of the plane and the location where they met, to narrow down his search. He didn't give up easily, and eventually, he found Franz. After a long search, Charlie finally found Franz, who was living in Canada. He was overjoyed to find out that the German pilot was still alive and decided to reach out to him. The two men met and became good friends, and their relationship was a testament to the fact that humanity transcends borders and that even during battle, compassion, mercy, and honor can still be found. They both shared the belief that war should be fought with honor and that it was important to remember the humanity of the enemy. They traveled together to different schools and events to share their story and promote peace and understanding between nations. Their friendship was a shining example of how two men from opposite sides of a brutal war could come together in harmony, united by their shared humanity and a desire for peace. They both believe that even in the darkest of times, hope and humanity can shine through, and that a single act of kindness can change someone's life. Their friendship lasted until Stigler's death in March 2008, and Charlie died only a few months later, in November of the same year. But their story lives on and serves as a reminder that there is hope for humanity and compassion can still prevail. Their incident was not just a story of chance meeting, but was a reminder of the power of human connection and the importance of empathy and understanding, even in the darkest of times.